Hey everyone, welcome to Thoughts of Treasures. My name's Connie and this is my craft room. Welcome in. If you guys are new, please be sure to hit the follow or the subscribe depending on which platform you're watching on so that you don't miss out on any of the videos that I put out. I usually put about 4 out per week, sometimes more, sometimes less, all depends on the week, but I don't want you to miss out on any of them. We are working on this little character tonight. We all know him so well, and I'll show you what he is. This is an ornament. This is our Santa mason jar ornament. He doubles as a gift card holder or, you know, a letter holder, or just if you want to put a note in there. It can be anything or a little bit of money. You know, it doesn't have to be a gift card, but a gift card does fit in this. You do not have to use this piece if you want to make like a banner or garland, not a banner, garland. You can use it without them, but it is cute, and we're gonna actually make it as this insert with it. I want to call it a gift card, but you know, like I said, you don't have to use it as a gift card. You can put some money in there. You can put, I mean, whatever you do, you don't want to put it way down because you're not going to get it out. But you do want to, or just a little letter to the grandkids or something. All kinds of fun stuff. Or, you know, if a present hasn't arrived yet. There's just so many different options. It doesn't have to be, but it does hold a little something in the back. But we're going to work this up tonight. Like I said, if you guys are new to me, thanks for being here. I appreciate y'all. If you're not new with me, thanks for coming back and watching. This little guy is our kit. If you are interested, you are more than welcome to message the word Santa, and I will get back with you with all of the information. If you want to check out our live sales, he will be in the next one, or if you've already watched him, he probably already has been in one. If you're not familiar with my live sales, please check that out. My list is running currently on my website, thoughtsoftreasures.com. It'll tell you exactly what days I do it. It's usually every other Sunday, depending on how the holidays and all that work out. But that being said, we're going to get started. So these kits do work up rather quickly. Well, you know, I mean, you don't have to rush any kind of craft, but they do work up nicely. They do have lots of pieces. These are actually also fun for get-togethers with your friends, having craft night. You know, just so many different things. But what I usually do, this is the first thing I do, is I divide them up into what colors need to go with what colors. So here we have green and red. Obviously I can't separate those, but on here we have our white, which is going to be his little hat rim kind of thing going on. We do have his little eyebrows that we're going to do white. Then we also have his little mustache that's going to be white, and that's it. And then this piece is going to be his face, so we're going to do that in the peach color, and his nose in the peach color, and then we have this awesome little star that we can put over here. And the last but not least, and we'll make some room for it, and we'll put it on after too, but I'm just going to stick that on the end. The reason I put them on tape, well, besides that one, all of them will stay on. I like to space them out a little bit, so, you know, go accordingly. I'm not going to pull another piece of tape out just for this last one, so when I paint one, I can take that off. But keeps all of our little pieces intact. Now, I am going to start with this. I don't have to do anything with this because you'll never see this piece, but I am going to do both sides of this because when you look at it, this is again a me thing. You do not have to, but when you look, let me show you. When you look, well, maybe not, but you're going to be able to see a little bit of that inside, so you know, just take a few seconds longer. I am going to paint all of this black, so it makes it go rather quickly. It's just going to cover up all of the stuff that, you know, the back, and you don't have to. I just tend to use black for the sole purpose of it covers nicely. But again, you're not going to see some of this, but, you know, it's just another couple inches. These aren't very big, so just go ahead and paint the whole thing and set it to the side. And black just covers up so nicely. You don't have to be doing 15 coats of it like you do with the white, and you'll see that on the front. But simple as that. So I'm just going to do these two pieces. And if you don't want to, you don't have to. This is totally your choice. I'm just going to go ahead and do them. And if you want to do it a color that coordinates with the front, be my guest. That is totally your option. I just think black just kind of gives it a finished look. I'm going to flip this over. Paint the other side. So if anybody is new, I do these videos pre-recorded. However, I do no editing to them. So if there's a spot in here where you are, all she's doing is go ahead and just, a little bit. I do appreciate if you watch the entire video. However, some of them will be a little bit long because there's a lot of painting involved. Some of them will be shorter because there isn't. I do lots of different crafts, but currently I have been working on the craft wood kits because it's Christmas time. We're coming up on Christmas time, and I don't want you to miss out on any of the awesome kits that you can get to make as presents or what have you. I am going to dry this really good. Don't have anything else that is black. Except for his eyeballs, but we'll get that at the end. Nothing else needs to be black, so I can put that in there. Now, if you ever notice that when you do paint something, you get this rough textury feeling, this is just a Dollar Tree sponge, sanding sponge. One side is more coarse than the other. I just use a smooth surface, and I like to make sure that everything is flat down. I'm not sanding anything off. I'm just kind of very lightly brushing over it. This is better to do. Better to dry it first, but that's okay. Better to do so that when you do glue things together, it does hold nicely. So what I'm going to do first, just so this can set up, is I'm going to take my little piece here and we're going to glue it together. Now I want to make sure this holds. You do not need to use a glob of paint with this. This is glue. But you do want to use enough, and I'm okay with it squeezing out because then I know it's going to all of the edges. But you don't need to use a whole lot. And we're just going to put this on here, and I'm just doing this so it has time to set up and dry while I'm working on the other pieces. Squish them all in different areas, pressing it down on the table. And if you feel that it's not sticking together, you can always clamp it, but I think this is pretty good. Sometimes with the bigger pieces you may need to do that, so I'm just going to brush off any of the excess. Now you're going to see glue on the inside. That's fine. It's going to dry clear. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to set it to the side, and then you will find that if your workstation gets a little messy because this is laser cut, so you're going to find that there's soot. If you want to go prior to doing anything and just wiping off the edges, you're going to see how much stuff comes off. And it's just the laser is burning it, so you're going to have that soot. All right, so on this little guy, we've got a Santa, so part of him is white and part of him is red. We do have this barrier, so we don't have to be super, precise, because we have our little piece that goes here that's going to hide this. So we can just paint over this red and paint this on the white. These marks here are score marks, and these are basically for placement. Okay? We don't have to worry about that. If it was something that I did definitely want to see, then we can use our pounce method. with the makeup sponge or something of that, so that the paint doesn't go into those score marks. But with this being said, we are just going to do some white and some red. I'm going to start with my red, and I'm just going to use this bright red by Apple Barrel. Oh, there you go. It wouldn't turn. So we're going to put a little bit out. I'm starting to run out of this red. Do we have anything else that's over there? The berries, but that's the thing. I'll do them with the thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I don't have to go down, but I do want to make sure I go into those little crevices, because you're gonna see that. And I'm going to dry this, and then I'm going to give it another coat. Always completely dry in between your layers. Because if not, you're just going to kind of rub the paint off. I think that's good. So just like that. See how I went the little, I didn't have to go directly down to the line. That's the only thing that's red, really? Where's Santa at? There's no more Santas. No more red for the Santa. Now with the white, we are obviously going to have to do more than one coat. And I do have other things that are white, so this is just plain old. I am used the most inexpensive paint because, you know, it is what it is. I'm not trying to paint a Picasso here. We're just kind of just crafting. I know some people feel more, the better the paint, obviously the better the project. I mean, yeah, you don't, if you get a better white, you may not have to do 15 coats. And I exaggerate a little bit. I think I probably do 2. Maybe 3, depending on how it works. Now I do find that Apple Barrel is a thinner paint. If you get like a folk art or I think American, now I can't even think of what it's called. What's it called? Folk art, I don't know. Deco art. That is a thicker paint. So it just all depends on what you want to work with. I was at Walmart. Let's take a look. In the end, they all pretty much do the same thing. So keep that in mind. You just might have to do a few more coats. And you know what? That's the fun part. Crafting is just enjoy yourself. It doesn't have to be a rush project. You're supposed to enjoy things with it. Be creative. You know, just because the wood pieces come as they do, doesn't mean you have to use them. You can always save them for a different project. I might do one more coat on this. But I'm going to use all of the wood pieces today. And prior, you know, instead of using the holly, I might put a little tiny little holly thing on there that's 3D. Maybe for the mustache, you could use some polyfill or, you know, some kind of furry thing. You could do that with the whole beard. Just, you know, there's different options, but sometimes we just want to keep them simple. But remember, these things make great if you don't use them as the card holder or letter holder or money holder. And then, like I said, you can use them for all of that. You can use these, and even if you wanted to, you could put them on stockings. As I said, that would be really nice to have them on a stocking with a little love letter, or not a love letter, a little letter. It could be a love letter. A little letter to the person that's getting it. Or maybe you just want to put the money in there and then use it as a decoration on your stocking. A lot of people do that. So I think that's pretty good. We're good with that. No, stop. I need to do, while we let that dry, over here, We've got his little fur banner, his mustache, and his little, there's noise out there, and his eyebrows that we're going to paint in the white. Give this all a layer. And I'm trying to be careful not to get the paint on the sides, especially with these little ones. You can always use your paint markers. But I've got the paint out already. If it was just that, I'd probably just use paint markers. But to do all of this in the paint markers would be kind of relaxing to me, but a little bit longer than intended. We're going to give those 3 things a dry. Start over. So if you are not familiar or have not seen, there are 3 to the set. You do not have to buy all 3. There is a Rudolph, there's a Santa Claus, and then there's a Mrs. Claus to this set. I do have other ones like this. That's why I said they kind of would be nice as a little garland, because you got Santa, there's a snowman suit, an elf suit. So you can just combine them all, just make it like a little garland. I mean, even if you wanted to make them as a garland on your tree. There's just so many different options. But if you were using them on your family stockings, and you have, say, 6 or 7 or 8, or there's other options out there. Like I said, I do have a snowman, an elf suit. There is one with just a Santa suit. Let's do one more coat on this. I think I have 9 in total, if I'm not mistaken. So if you wanted to have something different, so everybody has something different, that's an option. So now my website, thoughtsandtreasures.com, you can go there and you can view. It's not a purchasing site. You cannot actually purchase things from it. However, that does not mean that nothing on there is for sale. I use it mainly as a blog kind of site. So you will see over there the different projects that I have, and then if you click on the projects, you can actually view the video, and you want to see how it's made. Now, the wood kits are one thing, but I do have other projects over there. Dollar Tree projects from the past, decoupaging videos, different things like that. So if you want to check that out and you do see something that you're interested in, not everything can be done as a kit, but if it's definitely wood, 99.9% of the time, that can definitely be made into a kit, or it can be sold as a kit. All right, we got him done. Next up is I'm going to get some peach. We are going to use, not that one. We're going to use peach. This is a multi-surface. This is the only way I could find peach is in this multi-surface, and it's fine. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. So I'm just going to put a little bit out. This is perfect for his face and his nose. I personally think so. Actually, for his, I do want to, so if you used to do a lot of painting, this is a good way to get them, bulk, bulk, bulk. I'm actually, for his face, going to use our little makeup sponge, and I'll show you how I do this. The reason why is because I want his little eyes, not necessarily his eyebrows, because those are going to be covered up, but I want his eyes to have that marking so I know where to put it. If you load paint on, load it off. Just kind of like stenciling, load on, load off. You don't want a lot on your makeup sponge, and you're just going to lightly dab. lightly, lightly, lightly. And you'll see, and I'll show you in a second, that when you do this, yes, you might have to do it a couple times. But when you do this, you're going to end up seeing the score marks because the paint isn't going to go into them. And we're going to dry that. We're going to give him another, let's do his nose first. And normally now for his nose, you don't have to worry about it, but since I'm dabbing anyway for the face, we'll just dab his nose too. No sense in getting two paintbrushes out. Let's make sure this is dry, and we're going to end up doing another coat. Like I said, a little bit goes a long way, so and then a little bit on his nose. Okay, and I'm going to get a gray. I'm actually going to use, this is a Folk Art medium gray, and that is going to be here. I'm going to take this off a minute so I can push this up here. This is going to be for our mason jar lid. I'm just going to squirt a little bit out. And I just use foam plates. I know, probably not great for the environment, but you know. And we're just gonna, I want to make sure that I don't get any of the color in the slots, so I'm gonna, you know, less is more. Just lightly go over it. Now if you have a silver and you want to do silver on this, that's fine too, whatever color you want to choose. When you buy a kit from me, it does come with an inspiration picture. That does not mean that that's what you have to do. That is just for inspiration. But in case you know, feel like a piece is missing, or if, you know, you forget how the placement goes, or you just want to do it that color, then you have a starting point. Yeah, I feel like this is too dark. You know what? I'm going to lighten this up a little bit. I'm going to take some white. Yeah, that feels better. And it was just so dark. It didn't look like a mason jar lid. It was like we weren't even in the gray. We were like in it almost to the black. So I like that better. That to me looks more like a mason jar lid. So I'm kind of happy with that color. Let's see if when we dry it, if it stays that way, or if we need to put another coat on. Let's do one more coat. I think that looks good. So the only thing we have to do now is I'm going to remove his little face, so we have some room up here, is I'm going to use my paint pens for this one. If you guys are not part of my Tumblr group, definitely join. It's Tumblr's to Treasures. It is a private group, so I do have to admit you in, but over there you're going to find lots of different things, from tumblers to ETF transfers to 3D printed objects. I called it the Tumblr's Treasures because that's how I started. I'm looking for colors here real quick. That's how I started with it, but it kind of went a little further, and I just never changed the name because everybody knew it as Tumblr's Treasures. Alright, I'm going to use these just for our little pieces. This is, if you guys are in the market for acrylic pens, these are amazing. They are in my Amazon store. Check out the point on those. These are fine tip. They are in my store, Amazon store, and if you want to get that link, it is over on my website, thoughtsofTreasures.com, and you can check out my link tree, which will take you directly to it. If you guys are not familiar on how the Amazon store links work, excuse me, you do not have to purchase anything directly from what's in my store, but if you do use the link and you don't like what I have in my store, or you found something different, you can still be clicked into my link for me to be the influencer, and it gives me a little bit of commission, which helps with supplies, which helps with, you know, like I always say, it's like giving stars or gifting things, but in a you have to do nothing. You give nothing. It's not like you have to purchase anything other than what you're actually purchasing from Amazon. So Amazon is the one that's giving the stars or gifts or whatever. It's not a whole lot. Well, I mean, it can add up, don't get me wrong, but there's a few pennies and a few pennies here and there, which all add up, and I'm very grateful for it because it helps me get some supplies that I need to keep my page running, and you're going to purchase it anyway, so you might as well use the link. But these are amazing markers. I do talk about them all the time, just because I've tried so many acrylic markers in the past, and each time it's like they dry up, you have to shake them for hours, then you have to blah blah blah. It's just no fun. These are just like you would just open a marker up and go about your business. They're very high color here. You know, do you have to go over a couple times? Absolutely. The darker you do, then I do like to dry in between. Not that they get soaking wet like regular paint does. Just when I go over it the second time, I want to make sure it's dry. Alright. But they're so quick and so easy, and if you want your kids to do things with the crafts, they're so much easier to clean up from, and they're just good. Alright, so here we go. That is it. Now I am going to take my sanding sponge. I'm going to put that over there so we don't lose it. Like I said, it's best to just, when you feel your project, you're going to feel how rough it is. And again, I'm not sanding off. I'm just sanding those to get a smooth surface and get those paint fibers down from the wood. And same thing over here. Let's get him. And that way it gives it a nicer, smooth finish too. Alright, now we're just going to start gluing. I'm actually going to use, since these are all a lot of pieces, little pieces, I'm just going, and again, I like to show everybody, I use the super glue, wood glue from the Dollar Tree. I like the size of the bottle, and I like the product. So I'm just going to put some over here on my table. I don't know if you can see that or not. Start with that, and start painting. So this is just a little eyeshadow makeup brush, and I'm just going to dip my paint in, and we're just going to smear some paint onto here. You don't need a whole lot. Like I said, there's certain things that I do kind of try to put a little bit more onto just because and it's like frames, because they tend to not buckle up, but they tend to not adhere all the way. So, but things like this are very easy to put down. So we're just going to get that on there. Now, do take your time. Make sure you get it in where you want it to get it into. Make sure it's all nice and even. Press down. Now, if you do see the little paint in there, or the glue in there, don't worry, it will dry clear. Not worried. If it comes out the bottom and it really bothers you, you can just take a pen or paintbrush and kind of go in there. If it bothers you that much, and just kind of blend it in, and then I just wipe it off on a baby wipe. Alright, next we're going to put this little guy on. I don't think this matters. I'm going to make sure that this fits in there. Okay, it does. So now this piece is a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to... This is why I like the little bottles, because when they're half empty, you still have to really shake the bottle. When you have those really big bottles, it feels like you're doing it forever. Okay, let's get this on here. The score marks are there for a reason. Use them for placement purposes. Just want to make sure that I'm kept covered up on everything. Now we're going to put his little face on here. I can use that for this. Now before I squishy that down, I want to make sure like I said, I'm not using a whole lot of glue. This is not a lot at all. Let's make sure that this fits in here. Now we're getting there. It's looking cute. Press down. Next up, we are going to put his, well, I want to do his eyes first. So let's get, I'm trying to think if, I'm just going to use a, I don't know if this is going to be big enough. I want to find something big enough. Might be a little too small. That might be good. Alright, so if you are not good at like just making little dots, find something that's going to be the size, because these are already scored, and just dip in to your paint. It's simple like this. Dip, push down, just like that. Sometimes I feel like I put too much on. Go straight down. Ooh, that did not work at all. Let me see if I can, that went down the wrong place. See if I can, might have to paint that part over. Nope, that looks pretty good. Sometimes you can take your paint off. Completely. So when I tell you I do these videos live, I do them live. I mean, I do them recorded, but I do not edit. So yes, I mess up too. We're not all perfect. This might have been a little too big, but we're going to go with it. I think that works. It was a little too big, but it's okay. It worked. It's better now. Yeah, it really had his little eyeball on his mustache. That was not good. But let me dry. to get his little eyebrows on. Now, if you don't want to use these tiny little eyebrows, you know, you can always just color them in white. But since we have them, since our laser cut them, we're just going to use them. Sometimes just these little... I personally like the 3D effect though. And we want his eyebrows to be bigger than his overlap, and you know, bigger than his eyes. It gives it that nice 3D effect. Loving it. Okay, and we got his nose we're gonna put on. Let me see where I want to put his nose. His eyes are still a little wet, so I want to be careful. We'll put right there. And these would be great for kids to do. They're so much fun. Two last pieces. We got the little star. Put it this way. I'm trying to see which direction I wanted to put it in. And the little star is going to go down here. Just right on the corner. And then the holly we're going to stick right there, I believe. I think that looks good there. So I have this glue sitting on a silicone mat. I do all of it like that. That way it's so much easier to clean up. And again, that's another item I have in my storefront. I'm trying to think if I want to put it up. Yeah, we'll put it there. Yeah, look. Oh, that's so cute. But I have it in my storefront, so it's so much easier just to wipe it all up, and you know, you don't have to worry about getting on things or, you know, using all that brown paper. Just so many different options. I do want to, what do we do? What do we do? Here it is. It's like, what did we do with the other piece? So now let's go back to this piece. This piece is going to go directly on the back like this. And see how it has a little slot there? I don't have any paper here, but I'm going to put way more than I need to. I always like to sit it on the table so you're making sure, because you want to make sure everything is flush. These kits are created, you know, to fit perfectly. Not, you know, not too big, not, you know, they're not undersized. They fit perfect. So this, you shouldn't see any gaps. Sitting them down on the counter, the table, it just kind of gives you that extra bit. And of course it does move, so you want to make sure you just keep going back in the directions. Making sure everything is nice and flush. See how it's perfectly even. But don't be worried about the glue marks. Like I said, that will dry, but you can always wipe them off. And then I'll let this sit for a few seconds while I'm done with this. So let me wipe this off. I'm going to get some beads, because I'm going to put a little beaded hanger on there. Just like one bead or two beads, I'm not sure yet. And I'm going to get a little bow that we can glue onto it. So, got a couple beads here, and I have these awesome little bows. Now, if you don't have bows already made, you can definitely make these. I'm just trying to think if I want to use, I think I'm going to use a little red buffalo check bow. And I think I'm just going to use, let's see if I want to do two, a red and a white. I might only do one. I'm having green in this one. But that's okay. Now, bring this back over. I'm just going to use simple twine. And I do cut way more than I need. That's okay. This is how I do it, because if you just kind of, let me demonstrate. So if you just put your hanger in like this, when it hangs, it's going to want to hang this way, sideways. Instead of hanging this way, it's going to automatically want to go this way. So what I do to avoid that is I take my hanger, my twine, I fold it in half, so you stick your loop through the hole. So you have your loop on one hand and your two pieces on the other, and then you take your two that are open through the loop. So now, when it hangs, it'll hang forward instead of wanting to. Now it wants to go backwards. But this will prevent it from hanging, so it can hang forward. Not prevent it, it will make it hang forward. So I'm gonna just take my little bead threader, and this is thin twine, so we're gonna put white and red on. And then I'm going to hold this flat. I don't like to make a huge, and depending on, I do have an ornament stand that is also a nice, an option if you don't want to put all the ornaments on your tree. I like to just make a nice opening so you have a hanger for the tree, or if you want, but you know, if this isn't the case, then you can always take that out and move it around. But I do that, but I also double knot it so that the beads do not come off. See, now the beads won't fall off. So I'm going to cut this, even a little bit. And there's our little loop. So see how it stays straight? Much easier. And then I'm going to take my little, let's see if I like it first. And we're just going to I think I like that. We're just going to take, oh goodness gracious, that was almost a cuss word coming out, but thank goodness it didn't. Whew. Whew. The beaded box just fell over, but I had the lid on it. So we're just going to put a little glue on our bow, and I'm just going to attach it right here to where the hole is. And it kind of hides the hole, so you don't necessarily need to see that. Sydney, what are you barking about? So hold that until it dries a little bit. That's the only thing I gotta glue. Okay. And So let me show you real quick. Let me get a piece of paper over here. Oop, let's just knock that over. Like I said, these are good, and I'm just going to use a small piece because I'm not going to. So here's your little note that you made. You know, you can fold it however you want. You do want to make sure that it'll fold in there. And then you can just slip your note right back here. And it's just a cute little thing. I mean, they could leave that note in there every year. You know, if it's something, you know, from your grandparents or something special, you can put money in there. I mean, there's just different options for it. But like I said, I've always thought that the little notes in there are just, so year after year, even if it was something laminated from your parents, you know, you can do a card size and just have the mom loves you. Yeah, just something special. But just like that. But they do hold gift cards. That is exactly what they were intended for. But just because that's what they were intended for doesn't mean that's what we need to use them for. So that is what we got tonight or today, whatever time you're watching. Thanks for joining me. Just remember, if this is something you want to see more of, or more kits like this, follow, subscribe, and to be notified. I also have a Facebook channel and a Telegram channel. If you want either one of those, just comment them in the comments, and I can get you the link. Or you can go to thoughtsandtreasures.com, follow my link tree, and it'll be over there. So you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. But always remember, thoughts become things, and things become treasures.